Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone and say good evening. And welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of the City of Victorville for Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. I will call this meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Cook-Askins.
Present.
Commissioner Messon.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas. Vice Chair Harriman.
Present.
Chair Kurth.
Here.
We have quorum.
Next, if you'll please rise for the invocation led to us by Commissioner Messon, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Cook-Askins Jr. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Liberty, justice for all.
At this point, I'd like to read off some information on public participation for these meetings. The Planning Commission is interested in hearing from the public. Individuals from the public may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during this public comment section, providing those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Individual speakers may address the Planning Commission once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. For those attending the meeting in person and though not required, please complete a speaker card prior to the start of the meeting and place in the clear speaker card box located on the dais counter. If you'd like to comment on a public hearing item, please submit the speaker's card before the public hearing item is announced. For those attending by Zoom, please click the Raise Your Hand feature located on the Zoom screen. Whether attending this meeting in person or via Zoom, once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. Audience members may not disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Thank you. So that moves us into the general public comments section, where the public can comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda, but within the subject matter of the commission. Do we have anywhere in the council chambers that would like to speak to us?
I have no in-chamber speaker cards.
And on Zoom?
Yes, our first speaker is BIASC.
Hi, good evening. This is Carlos Rodriguez. I'm Chief Policy Officer with the Building Industry Association of Southern California. We are respectfully requesting that the Planning Commission consider bringing on to the next meeting agenda, revisiting the topic back from July of 2021 pertaining to vinyl fence alternatives, as well as in our letter submitted today, a discussion on a landscaping recommendation. In particular, we would ask that the Planning Commission revisit, again, the option of temporarily allowing for the use of a vinyl fence as a revision to the development code to allow for vinyl fences within tract boundaries as interior, return, side yard, and rear yard fencing. And we included an attachment for consideration. This would not eliminate block walls for a new residential community. Rather, our narrow and targeted code change would instead focus block wall use on the perimeter community boundary wall, along with side yard walls at the end of streets facing the public right-of-way. In addition, we had also some concerns about the current landscaping requirements, and based on both aesthetic and cost implications, we recommend that the 3 rock size requirements be altered to include a minimum rock size of 3/8 inch crushed rock with a decorative minimum 24-inch boulders stay the same, and crushed rock instead of cobble rock. The inclusion of coarser DG could also be coupled with a flat drought tolerant ground cover. Again, our request is to have an opportunity to revisit these topics on the agenda for your consideration This was a topic as far as the vinyl fences back in 2021. At that point, 3 planning commissioners did move to have this considered at a future date. We think that time should be now based on a number of changes in the housing market, and we respectfully request the opportunity to collaborate with you on this topic. Thank you so much for your consideration, and we'll have other members of the Building Industry Association also speak to this issue. Again, it was highlighted in a letter sent this afternoon, and we appreciate your consideration of putting this on the agenda next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Chung.
Hi, good evening, Planning Commissioners. This is Jennifer Chung, Vice President at Pacific Communities. We appreciate your time tonight and ask for your consideration, as Carlos mentioned, in putting the vinyl fencing issue as well as the landscaping requirements on the agenda for further discussion next month. Regarding the vinyl fencing issue, I'd just like to reiterate that we strongly believe that vinyl fencing is a fantastic product that has become part of the industry standard. And it not only offers a variety of color options, but is durable, maintenance-free, and wind-resistant. We've used this in almost every city we've built in, including our million-dollar homes inland and in LA. Moreover, we believe that it is more aesthetically pleasing than block walls within the community, and we have never had any warranty issues or homeowner complaints. And with that, we would really appreciate your further consideration on the matter. We also have probably Brad Kay from FenceWorks, who should be also on here to speak further on the benefits of vinyl, as well as answer any more technical questions. Just to touch on the other note, as Carlos had mentioned, is the city's requirement for 3 sizes of rock for front yard landscaping. After a more in-depth review of our landscape plans, we are proposing a couple material changes to the current requirement. As Carlos had previously mentioned, we're hoping that currently the front yards are dominated by a lot of 3 inches of small rocks. And while it has its merits, we believe that if we could change the requirements from a minimum 3/4 inch decorative rock to a minimum 3/8 inch crushed rock with DG, and allow for crushed rock in lieu of cobble rock, that we would be able to produce an attractive design that would also give our home buyers some flexibility to upgrade it upon closing. In fact, we have successfully designed this in our other high desert communities, such as the one in the sample letter. With that, we also have Ryan Durking from Urban Land Studio on the call as well, who can provide his professional opinion on the matter of design, as he is very familiar with the landscape designs for new home developments in the region. In closing, with one community with models under construction and 2 additional communities in the pipeline totaling 432 lots, we are hoping these proposed changes will enable us to have more attractive and cost-efficient communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Ryan Durking.
Hi, my name is Ryan Durking. I'm a California state licensed landscape architect. I've been practicing in California since 1994, and I've done a lot of work with PCB over the years in the high desert community. The alternative we're asking for today is an adjustment to the type of 2 of the 3 types of rock that are being asked for in this development. As mentioned before, the first alternative is to use a 3/8 inch minus crushed rock with 11% fines. This is typically used in a lot of the high desert plantings. This is the 3/8 inch minus crushed rock provides enough air gap around the plants to aerate the soil, and then the 11% fines keeps all those 3/8 inch rocks together. It prevents them from blowing away. And also the use of crushed rock is better than cobble rock. It tends to move less, and so less opportunity for it going over sidewalks and people tripping on it and sliding on it. Now, this is not 100% decomposed granite material. Like I said, it's 3/8 inch crushed rock with 11% being the DG that's mixed into it. So it's not 100% DG mixture that's being requested here. The boulders, the 24-inch boulders, we're not asking for a change on that. I think that's a great thing out there in the development. So it really adds texture and height to the landscape. We are asking, though, that instead of cobble, we use crushed rock. Crushed rock, it fits the area better in Victorville in the high desert. Cobble is more of a riverbed type rock where it's round and it's tumbled down the river. Victorville is more high desert, so you have more of like a crushed rock feel out there. So I think it definitely fits the city better. Again, it gets into the issue of not moving as much. It won't shift onto the walks or into the streets. We've used this quite a bit out in other projects like Palmdale, Lancaster, Simi Valley. And it's a great look when you get like 3 different colors mixed into it. So you get a lot of contrast out there and it's very striking. It's a very good look. And using in the crushed rock area, we always use landscape that is more of like an architectural form where it's a clumping material where you get agaves and stuff. So that with the crushed rock beneath it is a very good contrast and it looks really sharp. And then in the 3/8 inch minus area that we're requesting, it's a great opportunity for us to get more like a spreading ground cover. Put a plant in there that spreads maybe 10 feet, kind of covers up the area, low growing, and
Time is up.
it complements it quite well.
Thank you for your comments.
There are no additional speakers.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then with that, I will close the public comment section of our agenda tonight. And as we just heard, it sounds like the member from the BIA has requested that they would give the commission further information through some sort of a presentation at a future meeting. If that was to happen, that means that we would need to agendaize that, as the commission cannot discuss or deliberate on any of these items unless they are agendized. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to make a motion to hear further on this topic at a further agendized meeting?
Yes, Commissioner Harriman requests we agendize to the next meeting.
Commissioner Thomas, second.
Yes.
I have a first by Vice Chair Harriman, a second by Commissioner Thomas. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin. Aye. Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman.
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so that'll be agendized at a future meeting. Do we know approximation when that might, what month that might be?
I believe it would be before the end of the year, so either next meeting or December, but I believe that was the motion, next meeting, I believe. So we will.
I don't think it was identified on the motion, but I think if we're going to look at this, then we'll get it. Let's look at it right away, and if we can let them say their piece on the next at the next meeting. Is the commission okay with that for next meeting? Okay. Thanks. Okay, that moves us into the public hearing items. We'll start with item number 1, staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Agenda item number 1 is case number PLAN 22-00031, an amendment to the Victorville Municipal Code with an environmental exemption, introducing various amendments within chapters 5 and 6 of Title 16 in order to adopt State of California mandated 2022 Title 24 building codes and other standards, as well as update various sections to reference the City of Victorville adopted master fee schedules and revised provisions relating to development impact fees. The State of California triennially adopts updated versions of all parts of Title 24 of the Code of Regulations. This includes various construction codes, such as the California Building Code, Electrical Code, Plumbing Code, Mechanical Code, and Energy Codes. Most of these amendments are simply updates to existing codes that the city's building department currently enforces. Adoption of these codes will bring the City of Victorville into compliance with state mandates, and it is required by the state to be adopted prior to the effective date of January 1st, 2023. This is brought before the Planning Commission's review in as much as these sections of code are within Title 16, also known as the Development Code. And the Development Code requires the Planning Commission to make a recommendation on these actions or any amendment, to Title 16 before it's brought before the City Council for review and approval. Also included in these updates are updates to various other sections of Title 16. Some of these relate to appendices that are optionally adopted by the city. Of note, there is appendices to emergency housing that will be removed from the code in accordance with this proposal. These appendices for emergency housing would allow housing with far less of the life safety measures that are typically required by base codes, and specifically, it would allow emergency housing without fire sprinklers. City staff and the city building official see that this could create a more difficult and dangerous situation for first responders responding to a site. There were not those life safety measures in place. And it should be noted the city's wellness center, an interim housing campus, is currently under construction in Old Town, was developed to comply with all required life safety measures, including fire sprinklers. Finally, these code amendments include other various changes that will allow the city to implement the user and development impact fees that were recently approved by the City Council in June of 22. These sections will not impose or change any fee. However, they will modify reference to most of the code to address the most recently studied and adopted fees. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Recommend that the City Council find the code amendment exempt pursuant to Section 15061, subsection B3 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and adopt resolution number P-22-042, recommending City Council approval of case number PLAN 22-00031. Staff remains available for any questions you may have, and I would note that the city building official is also online if there's any specific questions relating to these proposed amendments.
Thank you for that report. Are there any questions from the commission for staff at this time?
I had just one, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe under the Joshua Tree section, transplanted was scratched off. I'm not sure if I saw that wrong, but I just wanted to know if it is, if that's no longer an option, or if it's just reworded differently. I saw it as it was just not an option.
I believe the majority of the change is to address the ever-changing and unknown situation with CDFW and their allowances they may or may not provide. Currently, that item is continued again at the Fish and Game Commission to February of next year. So while the Joshua Tree is listed as a special status species or endangered with those protections, we have to defer to CDFW guidelines. So those would remain in place and supersede the city's guidelines unless CDFW were to approve a project through the CEQA process that allowed the city to implement our relocation requirements in addition to or in conjunction with CDFW requirements.
I just had one question. You had mentioned that the city staff might not be in support of what I think was the state recommendation when it came to life safety and fire sprinklers for emergency housing. Does that mean, I didn't see it in the report, does that mean the city would keep life safety and fire sprinklers on emergency housing?
Yes, the emergency housing would be subject to typical construction standards of any housing project.
So we would have higher standards than what the state is recommending, basically.
Yes, we would not adopt the allowances that provide those emergency shelters to have the reduced measures. We would hold them to the typical standard.
Thank you. Any other comment? Then do we have any comments, comment cards? I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for public comments on item number 1.
We do not have any public comment cards and we have no speakers via Zoom.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing testimony portion and bring it back to the commission for a determination.
I move to approve the recommendation.
Commissioner Cook Askins, second.
I have a first by Commissioner Messin, a second by Commissioner Cook Askins. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair Kurth.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and that'll take us to agenda item number 2, staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Kurth. Fellow commissioners, item number 2 is Plan Case PLAN 22-00020. It is a site plan and conditional use permit with an environmental exemption to allow for construction of a 60-foot tall wireless communication facility stealth as a palm tree at the rear of a developed site zoned C1 Neighborhood Service Commercial. This proposal is located behind the existing Southland Radiation and Oncology Building at 15980 Bear Valley Road, which is located between 7th and 9th Avenues. The applicant is requesting the approval of this proposal to close a coverage gap of wireless services in the area. The engineer has provided propagation maps, which are attachment D in your staff report. They're demonstrating the need for the additional wireless infrastructure in this area. The 60-foot tall monopalm tower will include wireless antennas at an approximate height of 55 feet, with the remaining height of the tower composed of faux palm fronds used to camouflage the facility and create a palm tree design. The applicant's proposal will also include the installation of 3 live palm trees spread throughout the existing landscape areas to further integrate the palm tree concept throughout the existing site. The overall facility and its associated equipment will be located within a 944 square foot equipment shelter at the base of the tower. This equipment area is comprised of masonry block proposed at a wall height of 10 feet 8 inches to screen the proposed equipment cabinets within the enclosure, which are 10 feet tall. However, the maximum height permitted within the zone is limited to 8 feet. So the applicant has requested that the Planning Commission exercise their ability to deviate from the maximum wall height allowances of the underlying zone district. The city's municipal code provides allowances for base stations associated with wireless facilities up to a maximum height of 15 feet. However, those proposed equipment enclosures are not designed as a roof structure and therefore would be subject to the wall height limits of the zone. The city's municipal code does allow the Planning Commission to deviate from the code when the elimination of the requirement is not considered injurious to the public health, safety, and welfare, and when the elimination of the standard will not have an adverse effect on the surrounding properties. So staff supports the proposed wall height as it completely screens the proposed 10-foot cabinets within the enclosure. And given that the structure is completely screened from the public right-of-way by the existing building on site. Should the Planning Commission support the request, staff has included the necessary findings for that deviation in the attached resolution. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, receive testimony regarding the proposed project, and take the following actions. Find the project categorically exempt under 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act, entitled New Construction and Conversion of Small Structures. And adopt resolution P22-043 approving case number PLAN 22-00020, subject to the attached conditions of approval, and adopt resolution P-22-044 approving the site plan portion of case PLAN 22-00020, subject to the attached conditions of approval. Staff is available should the commission have any questions.
Thank you for that report. Any questions for staff at this time?
Yes. I'd like to know What is the distance from this structure to any residential units around?
The distance is over 75 feet. There is residential to the north of here, but it's over 75 feet from the tower location.
Okay, that is within the city standards. I mean, as far as structures like this.
That is correct. In fact, the city's municipal code does not stipulate a specific distance from a residential zone.
Also saw in the report that,
Can we have you speak into the mic?
sorry,
Thank you.
also saw in your report that the area there needs the tower for extra coverage. And I guess my concern is just the height. You know, I drive Bear Valley down that way all the time, and it'd be a little odd seeing something towering up over everything else. Is that taller than the power poles out on Bear Valley? About the same height?
They would be a similar height. In fact, this may be slightly lower than those towers.
Mm-hmm. And it does sit behind the building, so it's off the street a bit. So
it does, and they are required. It's actually shown on their plans, but required also for the 3 additional palm trees to be planted on site. Those are conditioned to be a 30-foot brown trunk height. So at time of installation, not counting the fronds, those trees will be over 30 feet high. So it should help to integrate to that property.
thank you.
Were any letters sent out to the homeowners or businesses in a?
Yes, absolutely. So all property owners within 3 feet of the project site were noticed. And as of the hearing, we did not receive any comments from any of those notices sent.
I don't mean to interrupt, but some of our Zoom speakers are having a hard time hearing us. So if we can remember to speak directly into the mic, that would be appreciated.
Did they hear me?
Any other comments or questions before you open public testimony? Okay, then I will go ahead and open the public hearing for public testimony. Do we have any cards?
We do not, and I do not have Zoom speakers. Oh, I do have a Zoom speaker now. Our Zoom speaker is Stella.
Hello, good evening. My name is Stella. I am representing AT&T for this project, and I just would like to take this opportunity to thank Planning Department with all their help and guidance to bring this application to the Planning Commission. And I'm here to answer if Planning Commission has any questions. I can help to clarify anything.
Are there any questions from the commission with the for the applicant's representative?
Yeah. Are there what was the criteria in applying for this location?
Criteria means, well, for AT&T or for any other carriers to find a site, basically the first thing we need to do is to receive engineers' computer model of where that a site would be needed, and also customers complain that they are having drop calls or not a very good coverage, and that's how we generate of what we call a search ring. And then based on that search ring, then I'll be knocking on doors and trying to see if any of the property owner would be willing to work with AT&T. And after that, we enter a lease negotiation, and also to see this location. If the location is in compliance with the city code, and that's how we bring the site here.
So you've already been in contact with the property owner where it's going to be located, or where that you're requesting it to be located?
Correct. Lease has been signed.
How about the surrounding owners, property owners?
Yes, I did contact the surrounding neighbors and then and submitted those application or submitted those properties to AT&T RF engineer, and they picked the current location as the number one candidate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
One more question.
We do have a question.
Staff. This is AT&T applying for this tower. What about the other carriers? Is there any distance, any proximity that any other tower like that be distance from that? In other words, I don't want to see, area where you have a heavy concentration of those towers.
Yes, we actually there is a Verizon tower on the other side of Bear Valley. I think that is actually his various jurisdiction. We were trying to do a co-location at that location. However, we were not able to obtain any ground space because the parking situation for that property is very tight. So that's why that location didn't work out, and that we're trying to now find a new AT&T's tower instead of co-location.
I have a question for the applicant. I believe you mentioned something in regards to a lease. How long is that lease?
The lease initial terms is 5 years, and then we have 5 automatic renewal with the landlord. So altogether 30 years of lease.
Are there any other speakers online?
There are no additional speakers online. We do have one in-chamber speaker.
Welcome.
I don't want to blow you out here. My voice is pretty booming, probably like Mr. Harriman's. In any case, my name is Michael Wahab. I'm an architect. My office is directly adjacent to the proposed site. It's ironic that Ernie Martell owned that building prior to the doctor doing his remodel for his oncology center some years ago. He also had the proposal for a cell tower that did not work out for him at the time. I have gone through, I was not notified. I just got the notification from the city within a 300-foot radius like everybody gets. Ironically, what you can find on the internet for what they call the kill zone for the EMPs, the electromagnetic pulses that come out of these, is 1,000 feet. So I went and spoke to some of the neighbors. I felt a little bit like Aaron Brockovich, which wasn't fun at all. I got to dance with their dogs and climb over their gates and get whatever. Just a handful. I did this before my lunch break yesterday afternoon, and had a half a dozen people that signed this document saying that they are not for a cell tower in their backyards, literally their backyards. So it's not really a commercial property. You were placing it on a commercial property, but everything for 1,000 feet backs up and is residential from there. Nobody was happy about it. A lot of people were reluctant to sign it.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you speak into the mic?
Yeah, it seems like I'm yelling at you when I do that, but sure. A lot of people are reluctant to sign anything. They see somebody knocking on their door. They think I'm selling cellular. They don't open it. They don't want to sign stuff. Other people said, yeah, we'll be happy to come to the meeting, but nobody's happy about a cell tower that is dressed up like a palm tree. It's like comparing a chimpanzee to King Kong. It's ridiculous in the way it looks, but the way it looks is not what's important. What I'd like to read to you is some excerpts from one of the websites that I found regarding electromagnetic fields called the Kill Zones. There's a tremendous amount of literature on the internet that you can find. I just took this one and put some highlights out. But what it's talking about primarily is the population living within 350 meters, which is 1,100 feet, not 300, not 70, are 4.15 times more likely to contract cancer than the normal population. And the cancer rate for females is a whopping 10.5 times more. So being there 24/7 is not conducive to good health. We've heard about microwaves. We've heard about sleeping next to your electrical panel. So all the electromagnetic pulses that come out of that, and these are tremendously more powerful. The proposed location backs up to the neighborhood, as I pointed out. These residents are going to be exposed nonstop all the time. Another thing that the property owners and that they don't talk to you about when they're pitching this stuff is that property values, residential property values, typically depreciate 20% immediately. As soon as
Your time is up.
20%. Are you talking about the mic again?
No, your time is up. On speaking, you have 3 minutes.
Can I ask for a short extension?
Since I don't think there's anyone else speaking, I'd like to give them another minute if you could summarize your comments.
Thank you. Happy to. They're very dangerous. That's the thing. In any case, I find it ironic that this site already houses the Southland Oncology Center. This is a doctor that specializes in trying to save people and eliminate cancer, that is obviously capitalizing on some spare dust that he has in the backyard that wants to put up a cell tower. This is kind of a monetary thing, in my opinion. In any case, there's a great deal of people that oppose this. So in making your recommendation on this, I would just ask you to consider the health of the neighborhood and the financial health of the neighborhood as well. And I respectfully ask you to consider that when you make your decision.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
I don't think we have any other comments on this one, so I will close the public hearing comment portion. I'm going to bring it back to the commission for any discussion comments. And I do have a question for staff as well, but I'll let you guys.
Oh, I was just going to ask, I think Commissioner Thomas asked, but how many notices were sent out? If you have a number.
I will double check for you here. There are a total of 23 notices sent. Now the notices are sent to the owners of property. There are some multifamily housing units behind this property. Those individual tenants are not notified through that process. It's a notification of owners of property.
I believe the speaker said he was not given a notice. Is that correct?
From my understanding, I believe he was. He has a copy of the notice in hand. And that is correct. The notice he's referring to is the notice sent of public hearing.
Okay. And I think I heard the speaker for AT&T say they did notify, and the speaker said they did not. And I'm not really comfortable with that.
I will say, typically the process is they can seek out additional sites themselves. There's not a noticing process that's required of them to notify those surrounding owners, but they can, in their site evaluation process, reach out to other land owners to see if they're interested in also having a wireless facility on their property.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to ask pretty much anyone from staff, the Mr. Wahab that made the comments about the health risks of cell towers. Is there any? Have we seen any reports of this in the past, or are there any? Have there been any past conditions, or are we aware of health?
It has been brought up on previous entitlements, excuse me, previous requests. The studies or information that's been provided to us has said there is not a direct health hazard. There are conditions included in the approval that do require them to provide or post notices on the tower itself related to the radio frequency electromagnetic energy, and there's compliance reports they have to maintain. But no, we have not received evidence of health hazards.
Because that's not, you know, if that's the case, that's nothing to take lightly. But it does seem like if there was, just in my time on this commission, we have put up and approved so many cell towers on school properties, and churches, and neighborhoods, and you know, if over all those years and across the entire United States has to be hundreds of thousands of these towers, if enough evidence came down, you'd think we'd be seeing so many lawsuits, you know, across the country of these things happening. And so I'm not aware of that. I also don't take it lightly on health benefits, but that was my question. I just wanted to know if there was any more, you know, studies on the city side.
I think the concern is with the residential unit, you have people there 24/7, and the exposure could be, if there are any health hazards. In the staff report, it did indicate that there are no medical studies that support these towers or EMFs, as they call them, causing health hazards, cancer. But it is a concern.
Yes.
A question for staff. I know a few months ago, maybe even last year, we approved one off of Rodeo. Do you know how far that was from residential property?
I don't know the exact, and I'll jump in here because that was the project I believe I presented. I believe it was approximately 50 feet from an assisted living facility, and then there was multiple residences to the north and east of that site as well. That project did have a study from an engineer and spoke to these items, and did not indicate any health risks that they could cite that were from a source that they would utilize.
Thank you.
I just have a comment for staff. If in the future we can look into sending out more notices. I understand that it was only sent to property owners, but I think 23 is concerning, especially when there's a number of businesses off that area. So I'm assuming that a good amount of those are to business owners, not just residential. So we can expand that in the future, look into doing that, or how we can do that.
I have one more comment if I can. I'm not comfortable with this when the surrounding, I'd like to see the towers with everybody around it happy with it. If there's going to be some people and owners of businesses and homes that don't want it there, and there's plenty of other locations, I believe the representative said there were many more other locations that could possibly be used. I would rather we try to do something like that rather than put it somewhere where people are going to be against it.
One final question. As far as the notices are concerned, how far in advance are those typically sent out prior to a commission meeting, or if it's prior to then?
Sure, the notices are sent out 10 days prior to the hearing date.
I would add that those notices are all done in accordance with state law requirements.
Yeah, I just feel like this isn't a whole lot different than all the other, you know, towers that we've, you know, brought through this city, whether it's for emergency service type stuff or it's whether for the convenience of people. Not even convenience these days, and a necessity. We really can't live without our connectivity. I know that there's been some comments made that there are some multifamily nearby, and Commissioner Messon, you brought up a good point about, you know, people being noticed. But I think if we were to look at something, you know, kind of on a sidebar here, if we were to look at something in the future on noticing, we'd probably have to give more details on what type of properties and how far, and you know, because that we could get into commercial tenants or residential tenants. But I think that's worth a discussion And maybe we can bring that up again in comments, commissioner comments at the end. I got off track, sorry. So with that, I guess we're looking for a motion on this cell tower.
Commissioner Thomas moved that we deny this application and see if another location is available. But my motion is that we deny this particular item before us.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a first by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Vice Chair Harriman. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Cook Askins,
Aye.
Commissioner Messin,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harriman,
Aye.
Chair
That's
Kurth.
to deny.
Yes, Chair Kurth.
No.
Motion passes with Chair Kurth voting no to deny the application.
Okay, when we have denials, which I sometimes kind of like to give a heads up to the applicant, just to be fair, that there is an appeal process. Is that correct? And then there's a time frame. Is it 10 day?
That is correct. The 10-day appeal period and typically utilize business days.
Okay, that would be the next step. So if the applicant chose to do that, just to be fair. And that's it for the agenda items. So at this point, we can go into the reports from commission members. Start with Commissioner Thomas.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Cook Askins.
Yes, Chair. Just as a point of reference, it'd be nice if I could maybe see a copy of what those notices look like when they go out to the property owners, just for a visual.
Could we have an example in maybe our next package?
Yes, absolutely.
And then that way we can kind of see what the neighbors did see, you know, if it was how it was worded. This is a project XYZ and it's located here. Commissioner Messin.
Just what I stated earlier, if we can look into what expanding that notification process would be like if we could just have that conversation at a future meeting.
I just want to say I was able to attend the fall festival recently, and I want to say the city once again did a real good job. It was a great turnout and a super event. Any comments from staff?
Just like to note a couple events that are coming up. Tonight, the Victorville Fire Department is having an open house at Station 315 at 12820 Eucalyptus. That's from 5 to 7. So if you're on plans tonight, you can head over there. And the city is hosting its drive-through Halloween Halibou event on Friday, October 28th from 4 to 7 at the South City Hall parking lot.
Thanks. Okay, if that's it, then I'll say thank you, everyone. Good night. Meeting adjourned.